Hey peeps, back again with more musings.
Yay!
The musings.
We love
So,
things.
yes, always with the musings and the thinking and the discussing. Right, so what have we been musing about this time?
Well,
Hmm.
there's self-doubt, emotional abuse, and why we use each other as a sounding board.
There it is. There it is. So okay, so basically we're going to be focusing on why we are the way we are, why we have the dynamic we do, and a little bit, well, I wouldn't say a little bit, I would say actually a lot
Quite a lot of
of the whole emotional abuse and abuse? Emotional abuse? What else? I'm determined to do this in one take without derping too much, dude. So.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry about it. Let's just derp through it. People are used to that by now.
Yeah, whatever. Saves me cutting this out. So, the whole emotional abuse and manipulation, and basically the long term effects, which is basically why we have the dynamic we do, and are actually quite fortunate to have
Yes, yeah, I think we
this
are
kind of
quite
dynamic.
have each other.
Mm.
Given the experiences we've both had, we both know what the other one's going through most of the time because in some way we've both been there before anyway.
Indeed we have, said mournfully.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll just sort of say for us, we've both had a very heavy emotional day yesterday, so it may come across in how we're speaking today, the things that we're speaking about.
Yeah, it was quite
Heavy.
yeah.
I know. Although, on a lighter note, just so everybody knows why I keep looking down, I got a pupper. Look at a little puppy. Hiya.
Hiya.
Oh. Yes, so she's on my lap. She's my therapy puppy. So if I keep looking down like that, it's because puppy. There we go.
That being said,
I'm happy.
It's the dopamine. It's a new happy hormone.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Let's get into this.
So yeah, basically, I think it's easier to start if we start on, what is emotional manipulation and basically how to spot it. So I'm first of all I'm going to go through the signs, the indications of emotional. We'll call it emotional manipulation because on its own it can be very manipulative, but if used constantly, that's when it crosses that line into abuse, and it really does depend on the situation and circumstances.
Well, there's many forms and many different ways that these things can be used, so it's quite a difficult subject to pinpoint.
Yeah, not only that, but again, going to reiterate, not professionals, but speaking from experience. And reading and kind of educating ourselves along the way, and listening to others who have been through similar things. So so the signs, well, maybe I don't have all the signs because there are probably more than I've got listed here. But these are the main ones I would say to look out for because they're the most common, I think. And I think the first real sign, and this is what can make it kind of difficult because it's done so covertly. And
quite subtle.
It's very subtle. So
it always begins quite subtle in that, it always begins very subtly. It's start off blatantly. So it will be difficult.
Yeah, and that's what makes it very insidious in its very nature, and so damaging, because
And why people don't realise that they're under this sort of...
yeah, and some people can go decades
Yeah, definitely.
without realizing this, and then one day it will just hit them. They'll have that realization, and it's like, shit,
Yeah.
you know, and you really don't realize just how horrific things really were until you have that
So you
wake up moment.
that wake
So these are these are the signs to look out for, and they come in no particular order. These are just, you know,
yeah, not
how
everybody will display them.
not
Some
everyone
will
display.
more than others and various other things.
So that being said, I would say the perpetual victim thing. Well, they'll always paint you as the bad guy. You know, when you go to them with a concern or a problem or something that you're just a little bit unhappy with, suddenly they will kind of flip it around and you're the bad guy.
If you're questioning their behaviour, if they've hurt you in some way, even if it's a small way, there'll be this like a deflection, and they'll deflect it straight back on you and explain all of the things why you've hurt them, why you're the bad guy.
And you walk away kind of feeling guilty for those emotions.
You can even apologise to them for the way that they've said you make them feel, when actually it was, in the beginning, it was something you were trying to express to them.
Yeah. So, yeah, they really just kind of brush it off on you on that one. And sometimes you can even think, you know, oh God, what's wrong with me? You know, I'm being so unreasonable towards them. They're so kind, they're so loving. They're going through all this thing. How selfish of me to feel these emotions. That is essentially a result of their actions, and it's kind of like, what the fuck, when you step back and have a look at it. So
yes, very much so. It's very confusing, because you end up sort of doubting everything you think you know to be true, and your own behaviour. You know, it's very difficult, because it can affect so many areas in your life, and to have somebody constantly flipping things on you and saying that you're too sensitive, or they were just joking, or actually you're the bad guy, you know, you've done this to them. It's very heavy, and it can make you question everything.
It's crazy making, one would say.
Very crazy making. What's the next one?
One-upmanship. The whole, anything you can do, I can do better. I you know, your achievements, your progresses, your little wins, everything is downplayed or belittled, or they could always do something or better, or they've done something, it doesn't, and yours doesn't.
They did one bigger.
Yeah, pretty much. Or oh, you got a promotion. Well, I got a promotion and a raise, kind of thing. And yeah, suddenly you don't.
Yeah, everything that you're trying to say, like you're proud of, you know, because you know, if it's a partner or a friend, you know, that sort of thing, you want to share your little wins with them, and for them to be proud of you. That's natural, you know?
Or to be happy for you.
Yeah, exactly. You're excited about it. You're going to express that. But if you constantly have somebody going, you know, you try and share these little things with them, and they go, well, you know, I did this and I've done that, and
or picking faults or picking problems.
Yeah. Or, you know, bursting your bubble as well. There's a way of, you know, they'll say, well, you know, that's not much of an achievement, or I don't think that's great because of this, or even to the point of this is probably going into one of the other symptoms or signals of it, is when you're having an experience that's joyful and you're happy about it, like you've just you've had a promotion, or maybe you're going on holiday for the first time, suddenly they'll throw a spanner in the works and they'll take that joy away from you somehow. By, I don't know, there's a way.
It's almost like they want to make you feel less than them.
Yeah,
so you can strive to be better than them, but you're never going to be better than them, because no matter what you do, they're always going to be able to. So it's constantly raising that bar just to make you feel like shit.
There's that, and so I'm struggling trying to put this into words. Like, again, if you're going on holiday for the first time, or you're really excited about something, they'll suddenly start getting really shitty with you and
causing drama,
causing an argument deliberately to burst that bubble,
just so you have a negative association with
exactly. So any good experience you have suddenly becomes a bad experience, because that memory will then be associated with an argument you've had, or
or the time that you did this and this happened, rather than the time that I actually managed to go on holiday for the first time and I actually had a great time.
That one's straight from my book of experience.
Moving on, because we could probably
we could talk about that for ages.
They're heavily dependent. Now they kind of, it again goes with the perpetual victim thing, where they will use their weakness or illness or their current situation, which is not brilliant, so that they can depend on you, and you feel kind of obligated not to let them down, if you know what I mean. So essentially they use their kind of helplessness to be a dominant force in the relationship, so you become kind of this prisoner of guilt.
You constantly end up feeling like a therapist. Like they're emotionally sucking you dry. You have to be there for them, you have to support them, and there's always something that they're not happy about, and maybe there's some drama at work, or maybe there's some drama with friends, and usually most of the time they've caused it in some way, and of course they'll paint it as everybody's mean to me, I didn't do anything,
this just happens.
So
I'm a victim of circumstance.
You stroke their ego and you go, oh, they're there, it's okay, I'm here for you, and you give them all the love, and they just take suck you
and when you don't have any more to give, they go and find someone else.
When you need the support, when you need the emotional support, suddenly they're not really around. But if they are, they're kind of expecting you to be happy and get a little bit crappy with you when you're not. You can't be. Again,
making you feel guilty for your emotional state, which they have essentially caused.
Of the others, So that's that. These.
So you're beginning to see a pattern here again.
They all tend to tie in. All of these little signals and pointers of emotional abuse, they tend to tie in with each other. So what's the next one?
Triangulation. Now, we've touched on triangulation a little bit before, but basically what it is it's them trying to kind of build an army of emotional supporters, where they will try their best to get other people on side, as petty as that sounds.
There's a few ways that happens, though, isn't there?
Like with gossip, lie, they distort facts, or even go on to a full-blown smear campaign, and they do this to create rifts and drive wedges between friends, family, and people up close. It just creates a huge disturbance, almost
There's
like
a certain way.
factions.
There's a certain way. There's a couple of ways that they can do this though, and one of them is where if you're talking to them, they'll and you're expressing a concern about it. Doesn't really matter what it is about, but they'll suddenly throw in one of their friends' names or a mutual friend's name. Well, he thinks I'm right, or she thinks I'm right, and that's triangulation, because that's like making you think, well, maybe I'm wrong because other people think that. Or there is the kind of love triangle, which is where we get into there's another one further along, but there's the little love triangle where they'll have either you're the partner or they're using you to upset their partner. That's also triangulation. So they'll either flirt with you and upset their partner, or they'll flirt with somebody else and upset you. So that's triangulation as well. And
Basically,
I that ties in with something
socially.
else later on, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
So we're not going to really go too in depth in that right now, because it does tie in with something.
It does tie in with something else.
So without seeming to skim over that, we will come back to that later.
We are coming back, yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to another tactic, we'll say that they use is
tactic.
The explosive defense. Oh. Now, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but basically they will explode very suddenly. And the reason why they do this is to basically prevent you or deter you from asking questions or digging deeper,
You're on eggshells around them.
Yeah, so you want to avoid this subject. So you'll take what they have just said to you and you won't dig any deeper, and you will just blindly accept it, even if there are gaping holes.
Even if you don't even believe them. Sometimes you can blindly accept it. Sometimes you just don't want to dig any deeper because you know full well they're going to explode. So
it's easier to keep the peace and shut your mouth, basically.
Exactly. It's just one of those things.
And this is kind of behavior modification in a way, because it makes you stop thinking and just follow, kind of thing. And it's kind of a very dangerous tactic, especially when it's persistently used.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a romantic relationship or a platonic friendship, those tactics are pretty much the same and they have the same effect.
Yeah, or even in your family.
Oh yeah, that's that one too. Sorry, my bad.
No problem. This is for any relationship, family, romantic, platonic, business, whatever.
All damaging.
So the next one is projection. Now, people who project are, well, they're basically in denial about all their flaws and shortcomings. So
they probably know them, but they just don't want to acknowledge them.
Yeah, they kind of got their head in the sand. And essentially, to protect their fragile little egos, they essentially see themselves as perfect, and everyone else is the ones with the problem. So everyone else is fucked up, I'm fine, basically. That's projection. So
also, if somebody's getting jealous, like again, we'll go into the relationship aspect. This projection thing can come out with if they're getting jealous of you, talking, like if you're a woman and your partner's, if your partner's getting jealous of you talking to somebody else, and they're thinking that they're sort of saying, oh, well, you're flirting with him, it's usually because they're doing the same thing and hiding it. That's also projection. So they're projecting their behaviours onto you.
Yeah. So basically, they'll never take ownership of their faults.
No. Everything is everybody else's fault.
Yeah. And that's how they get around it. And It's basically going back to the old adage: when someone judges you, it's because they can't judge themselves. You know, they refuse to. It hurts too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Avoid the truth because it hurts.
pretty much, and that is why the truth hurts. So, yeah. Let's see, what else have we got here? The deliberate misinterpreter / gaslighter.
I'm sorry. I knew you'd come to that. Oh, God. I'm sorry. You know, we're laughing at these because we know them so well by now.
Mm-hmm.
We have, excuse me, we have unfortunately experienced these things many times over, and recently have woken up to a lot of these tactics. That's a good word.
Tactics.
So now and again, when we're sort of thinking about it and talking about it, you'll just get this. Yeah, know that one.
Yeah, that's pretty much what.
It's a bit of a bitter laugh sometimes. But...
Oh yeah, just a wee tad. I'm sorry.
So what is gaslighting?
Right. So these people are sneaky. I'm just going to put that. They are. You know when you hear the saying "snake in the grass"?
Yeah.
You know, fucking
wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. That is the perfect.
Yeah.
The perfect analogy right there. The wolf in sheep's clothing. Now they will always appear to be the warmest, most friendliest, most
so charismatic.
Oh, aren't they just?
So charismatic.
Aren't they just? So they would always be there for the friendly, helpful ear and shoulder. The pillar of the community.
Oh yeah, They'll be there for everybody, you know.
Yeah, of course. So there's no way this person could possibly be abusive or mean.
No, because you know they'll project this persona. It's like they wear two masks. You know, there's Jekyll and Hyde. Oh, Jekyll and Hyde. It's just like that.
Yeah.
And they project this outward public appearance of being very charismatic, very charming, very helpful, very nice, friendly. But now and again, the mask will slip. Sometimes in public it'll slip and people will get this sharp edge.
Like, whoa, where did that come from? You know, that was a bit out of character.
They are closest to that get, rather than they get, in the beginning they'll get Dr. Jekyll and everything's great. But when the mask comes off, it's always Mr. Hyde. And because you've had Dr. Jekyll for quite a while and fallen in love with that person, or, you know, they've become your best friend, you'll keep wanting to hang on and see if Dr. Jekyll will come back. And they always tend to do these emotional, abusive things and manipulations in private rather than public.
Yeah.
Because if they do it in public, that hurts their public image, and that is the most important thing to them.
Their best face must always be forward.
Always.
So what they'll do, these deliberate misinterpreters or gaslighters, is they will take any information that they can get. Information to them is gold.
Oh yes.
Right. And they will take that information and they will twist it, but keeping just enough grains of truth to make it plausible.
Little white lies.
And they'll distort some facts and exaggerate things, and they'll basically paint you with this false negative image. And again, that goes hand in hand with building their little army of emotional support soldiers or flying monkeys to do their bidding. And you can probably hear what we're alluding to here with certain key terms, but we're not going to say it just yet.
No,
but
not yet. If you know anything about it, you'll know what we're talking about.
Certain personality disorders, we'll say. But anyway. And yeah, they take this information and they weaponize it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
if it's about you.
Or anyone.
Yeah, but if you're close to them in some way, they tend to, they appear to be very good listeners in the beginning. They'll want you to open up completely and tell them everything about you, whether it's good. They especially are interested in the things that have been traumatic for you.
Oh yeah, they love that. That's like the fuel that sustains them.
Because that information is how they can
Control
trigger
you
and control you. And that, yeah, you will think that you have found the most kind listener, such a wonderful soul, such a good listener. Finally somebody's really listening to you, and it's wonderful, and you just go blah 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 blah, blah and tell them everything they need. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit sorry.
Yeah, I can see. So
yeah, it's a bit of a sore point.
Let's mosey on over to the next one. The flirt.
The flirt.
Now you have encountered the flirt many a time, so they basically use their sexuality and charm to get whatever they want.
That's called love bombing. That is called love bombing. And
if it's romantically, anyway.
Yeah, if it's the thing is, there can be love bombing in platonic relationships, but of course it's a different sort.
Or family relationships.
Yeah, or family relationships.
But it's love in a different way.
There's this honeymoon phase where you can do no wrong and you're the best thing since sliced bread. And you feel like, oh wow, this person's really into me, whether they're romantic or platonic, they want to spend all their time with you. You're texting all the time. They'll call you. It's just
you are the top of their world, kind of thing.
The most amazing thing. You are the most important person in their life, and then suddenly things start to change, and they'll start flirting. If it's a romantic, they'll start flirting with other people right in front of you and kind of rubbing your face in that a little bit. And then, it's harmless.
Or if it's platonic or in a family, someone else would suddenly be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
And suddenly they would be the best person.
Yeah, exactly. And then they start talking to you about something else.
Awesome and how wonderful.
Yeah, how amazing they are. And then you're sat there thinking, what happened? And then it's almost like they're trying to get you to try harder. And try harder.
It's again triangulation.
Yeah, that's the other one. So they're getting you to try harder and do more for them. And you do because you've had this love bombing phase, this honeymoon phase for ages. And then suddenly you're not important to them anymore. And you're thinking, well, what happened?
It's kind of like an addict, dude.
It is an addiction.
Move your microphone from your necklace. It's really annoying.
I'm sorry, I'll take this.
You're welcome, peeps.
How long's that been going on?
Oh, just for 30 seconds or so.
My bad.
That's cool.
Okay.
But yeah.
So honeymoon period, and then suddenly you sat there thinking, well, what happened? I didn't change. I didn't do anything wrong. Why aren't you loving me the same way anymore? Why is
almost like you're addicted and you want that drug.
But that's it. It is an addiction, and it's an addiction to oxytocin and dopamine. It's your neural transmitters that they kind of, some of these people don't know about this, but one of the people I have encountered was a biology major, so he knew. And he knew all about the brain and how the neurotransmitters and the endorphins worked, and could do things to trigger those things in me. And it completely fucked me up. And I will put my hands up and say, I am still struggling with that addiction, with that person. You literally become addicted to this person.
And that brings us to the next one, the intimidator.
Yeah.
Now, these ones will just basically use intimidation tactics to impose their will and get what they want. So, again, like the flirt, but these guys will just outright be thuggish about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a case of shout loudest type thing. If you're of a nervous disposition, and usually these sorts of people will go for people that are a bit more submissive, a bit more timid, a bit shyer, maybe have anxiety. They only have to raise their voice and you'll just back down.
Yeah.
And if by chance you do tend to try and stand up for yourself, and they push the wrong button and you shout at them, they instantly go into this, why are you shouting at me? And they get all quiet and, I'm sorry, try and be cute to you, so you feel like a dick shouting because they pushed you to it. And there's the death glare.
The what, sorry?
The death glare.
Oh.
It's only a look. Sometimes that's an intimidation thing as well. There's this look now and again that can be given, which is just instantly put you into...
It's kind of like, almost like that look that your mother gives you, where you...
Yeah, the mum look, but like worse. 10 times worse. So those are the... Is there any more?
Yeah, well, I would say also the fact that another sign that you want to look for is repeat offending on these things, and how often do these things take place, and how often do you...
noticing a pattern.
Yeah, and if you're noticing a pattern and any of those are ringing some alarm bells for you, then it's highly likely that you were subjected to emotional manipulation of some degree. So I would go and maybe educate yourselves and possibly speak to your doctor if you are feeling that you may be affected by any of this, because there are a lot of very nasty long-term effects to being subjected to these kind of manipulation / abusive.
Sometimes something I've discovered is it can manifest almost like bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed with, as you know, dude, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder too. And you said for years and years, I'm not bipolar. But the research I've been doing into emotional manipulation and abuse has pointed to the fact that it can almost be identical to bipolar disorder, but there are ways to heal from it. So whereas bipolar disorder, there's no cure, with this there is, but it's very difficult to tell.
One is damage, one is disease, basically.
Yeah, obviously I do have my my problems like anxiety and depression, but having thought about it for a very long time now, I do agree with you. I do not think I'm bipolar, and there's a difficulty ahead trying to get that overturned. So I've got a lot of research.
Well, even your doctor said that they agree with you.
Yes, they did. They put on my notes that I've been cured, even though there are no cure, because they don't want to admit they're wrong. So yeah, your behaviour will change dramatically, and
I mean, even at the initial shock and realization that, I mean, because you can even be provided for materialistically very well. You could have had a nice home, you could have had everything you wanted, you could have had nice clothes, money was never an issue, but emotionally your needs
are not met.
Are not met. And yeah, that's also how it could also be insidious, because a lot of time people think, oh, hang on a minute, my life wasn't so bad. My parents gave me all these things, or my boyfriend provided for me so well, or or usually these friends, they were always so kind and generous and warm, and whoever you're talking about here, and this is where the danger lies, because in one breath they're being so nice, or you're being provided for so well, but there's always that big thing missing, and there's always that immense pain, and you're like,
the material things that these people, not all of them do it, but if you're with somebody that is emotionally absent and yet they do tend to be flash the cash type thing, usually it's to hold that over your head so that you have to be grateful and you have to be dependent on them. And if you have any kind of financial independence of your own, they don't tend to like it.
No, they don't. Because that means you're your own person.
And you have a means of escape.
Yeah.
And they don't like that. So that's one of the things.
No. So these people, they can really, I mean, if they're your family, they can really control your life well into adulthood, and even to the degree of it influencing who you decide to have as friends and what kind of friends you have, and whether these friends also turn into emotional abusers or predatory personality types, for want of a better term. You know,
sometimes if you've been...
you lose your ability to draw boundaries because you were never taught to draw those boundaries. And if you did try to, and you weren't allowed, because if you did try, you were brutally punished for it.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes with these people, you don't even realize it, but you're conditioned to seek these people out. You're conditioned to, if it was your parents that were very emotionally manipulative and abusive, you do tend to find that you will gravitate towards people who will control you, and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah, because it's what you know, it's all you've ever known. And that's when it's scary but necessary, because when you wake up to this realization, it's going to hurt like hell.
Yes. And if you do tend to have, this is not just parents, the parenting relationship, this is friends, lovers, partners, parents as well. You know, if you do tend to find somebody in your life and you have a friend that is not like that, they will do their best to push them out of your life, because that friend is able to say, whoa, this person's being an absolute dick to you and you can't even see it. So they don't like you to have people that can call them out on their bullshit.
So they like to isolate you.
That's another thing. That's another one of the
If you find yourself isolated, unable to keep friends for some reason, or
unable to keep jobs,
or anything that kind of gives you that little bit of independence, freedom, you know, you are isolated and you are kind of dependent but depended on.
Yes, person. It's sort of a codependency type thing.
Yeah.
But these things can be very, very long lasting, damaging, and the problem with psychological and emotional abuse is, in some ways, it's a bit worse than physical abuse.
Yeah.
While physical abuse comes with psychological abuse, you can go to the hospital, you can go to the police, and you can point out bruises and broken bones and say, somebody's hurting me. But with psychological and emotional manipulation and abuse, it's internal. And most of the time you aren't even aware of it, so you can't point it out, and people will begin to question you, and you don't understand what's wrong with you, You don't know why you are the way you are, why you're panicking, why you've got depression, until one day you have that wake-up moment.
Yeah.
So it's much more difficult to say to somebody, help me, if it's that sort of abuse, because you can't see it unless
Because you're seeing yourself as the problem.
Yes,
That's the
because
problem.
that's the way you're conditioned
Mm.
to think. Very much, and that brings in a lot of self-doubt.
Hell yeah. Which is why we're very fortunate to have the relationship that we do have, where we have recognized in ourselves, almost like we have naturally allowed our instincts to guide us. And we form that bond during those emotional times.
It's almost a bit like trauma bonding, but we were there for each other rather than hurting each other. There was trauma going on around us, so we just went,
And we decided to heal together.
So in a way, I will admit that you and I are a bit codependent.
Oh yeah, that goes without saying, dude.
But it works. I mean, we have like months sometimes where we don't talk because there's shit going on. But we know full well that the other one is always going to be there. I mean, I had that moment with you where I'd got into this kind of thing with somebody, and it was so heavy and so emotionally manipulative that I just couldn't talk to anybody. And I sent you a message eventually and said, I'm so sorry that I've been quiet. And you did the most mature response I'd ever heard of, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting that. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it.
Well, there was someone else that you reached out to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just going to say who it was. It was my mother. And there were two very contrasting responses, and I'm gonna let you talk about that and your reaction to it. Actually,
your mother became very special to me, as you know, almost on a level that you and I are, but not quite. There was still vast differences in your personalities, but I did enjoy her company, and I would go and see her when we moved to Belgium. But I did have this situation where I became very isolated, and I wasn't talking to anybody really. I was just trying to process the shit I was in, the pain. It was confusing. You know, I was lost. I was broken, but I couldn't reach out to anybody. I couldn't reach out to anybody at all. And eventually I did, because I felt guilty. I hadn't, you know, you'd been going through shit. There's loads of people that have been going through shit around me, and I couldn't be there the way I usually am. So I sent you and your mum the same message, which said, look, I'm really sorry that I've been so quiet and I haven't spoken to you in ages. I've tried. I haven't ignored you when you've sent messages to me and everything. I've sent one or two back, but we don't have these conversations anymore, and I haven't come to see you. Well, I couldn't come and see you, but I didn't go and see Mum. But I'm not going to make excuses, but things have been really shit, and I've been depressed and everything. And I'm sorry. I am just so sorry. I'm not going to excuse my behaviour. Now, your response was, that's okay, you know, shit happens. We all go through times. Yeah, it would have been nice if we'd been able to talk through the things that I've been going through, but fuck it, I ain't going to hold it against you. I know how it is. And your mum's response was to never speak to me again. And I tried several times to reach out to her, and she didn't speak to me ever again, and now she's gone. Which left me in the biggest amount of guilt, but I wasn't the only one she was doing that to, was I?
Well, for the last 2 years of her life, she was giving me the silent treatment, basically on and off, which is also another tactic
Tactic.
where these people will just stonewall you for no reason, and they'll be so mad at you and they won't even tell you why.
No, they don't give you the respect and courtesy where you've been trying to reach out to people and say, I'm a little bit upset about this behaviour and this incident and everything.
Mm.
Can we please talk about it and sort through our problems? They would rather just not.
And I tried to reach out to my mum, I tried to call her, I sent her messages. She would just, either she would ignore them, hang up on me, or just
Yeah.
out tell me to fuck off. And yeah, but I eventually learned why. One of the reasons to why she was giving me the silent treatment for the last part of her life, the last few months, because it would be that she would be silent treatment for like almost a year, half a year, something like that. Then we would speak for a couple of months, and then it would start all over again.
Mm.
And so basically, it turned out that there was some shit stirring going on. She took offence to it and decided to lash out at me. And I don't even know how true that is anymore. I just don't know. I'm never going to know. That's the reality of it.
You will never know.
No.
You will never know.
Good.
One of the things that I was going to mention earlier, while we were talking about the tactics, was the charisma. And I had an example of this. And the example is my own father. This man, with his lies and omissions of truth and just his whole public personality, he was so charismatic that if he had an apple in his hand, he could literally convince you that it was a banana.
Mm.
And that's massive, crazy making bullshit, you know?
Mm.
And there's a lot of people who are emotional manipulators and emotional abusers that are like that. And there was many instances of this during the whole my mum having to fight for custody for us and social workers and things like that.
Mm.
It took so long because he was very convincing in some of the things that he was saying and the smear campaign he made against my mother.
Mm.
So the lies and things with these people, it can make you think, it can make you question your entire reality. Like you think up is down and left is right and various things like that.
A
And
lot of self-doubt and low confidence.
a lot of self-doubt, because your entire mind is being reprogrammed. And excuse me, having had this from various people, and obviously it started with my father, and there was a lot of conditioning going on there. And I found myself unconsciously drawn to people who were very much the same. So I've had a lot of people in my life that have been emotional manipulatives to the point of abuse. And the long-term effects, like we were talking about, like you say, self-doubt and questioning everything, even when you're away from these sorts of people, you question everything. And I do it with you. You know, I find that I know how you're going to react to certain things, but there's part of me that will go and panic and think, is she going to react this way? You know, but I think that's one of the reasons why you and I do what we do, and we are each other's sounding board or voice of reason. Because over the past 20 years, we have had a lot of people do this to us collectively and separately. And but that whole trauma bonding I was saying about earlier, we have built up this level of trust so that even through the crazy making and the self-doubt, there's still this voice of the other person in our head going, no, you can trust me. You can trust me. You know? And I think the reason our particular brand of trust is so strong is because while we have now and again made predictions for each other about other relationships, when things fall apart like we have predicted they would, and although sometimes we don't make those predictions, we just keep it to ourselves. While when things fall apart, like when my ex-husband left, not once has either of us ever gone, I told you so. At the time, all right, years later, when we're over it and we're getting all jokey and sanctimonious and smug, that's
not that
fine.
we would,
you know, but at the time when shit is hitting the fan, splattering all over the wall, neither of us have ever gone, told you.
Yeah.
Because that would be just as bad.
Insult to injury, basically.
Exactly. All we've ever done for each other is just be there to pick up the pieces, support, and when we can talk about it with a clear head later on, if we have made certain predictions or we've kept them to ourselves, we both talk about it openly, honestly, and the other one can say, you're right, you are right, I can see that now, you were right, you are right now. And when predictions have been made and we talk about it, we always say, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to be right. I really didn't want to be right. I don't want you to go through pain.
But it's also another way of broadening the perspective on the lesson kind of thing, so we can learn from it at the same time.
And that's the point with us. We always try and help each other learn and grow from things. Yeah, these things are fucking painful.
Aren't they just?
I know. But I think that is why we've got to the point where we are, where there is, I mean, because we live in different countries, there's not much opportunity to socialise together with each other's groups of friends. So we're sort of now walking along parallel roads but kind of meeting up in the middle type thing. So we're at a point where we can be the sounding board for various other relationships that the other one has, objectively neutral, because you can't see what's going on with me, I can't see what's going on with you, and yet the times when we do witness it is when we can really get a good insight into it, and then you know, it doesn't take much to know what's going on. So it's nice to have that, and we are very lucky to have this, and thanks, dude.
What?
Thanks, dude.
Oh, God, sorry, I completely... I'm sorry.
You dick. I was being nice to you.
I'm sorry. I just completely zoned out.
I was being so complimentary, you prick.
I'm so sorry.
That's hilarious. I'm there going all gushy and profound and everything like that, and you know, I'm not even fucking listening to you.
Oh, an interruption.
Yeah. But
I'm so sorry. It's not that I wasn't listening.
I know.
I was hearing you talk, and it was like, and I was trying to focus, but it just wasn't happening. And then the next thing I know is like you go, thanks, dude. It's like, shit. What?
We're recording. Hello. Oh God, I'm
just totally fucking zoned out there. I'm sorry. I wasn't being heartless.
No, she really wasn't. She does this now and again. Eyes will glaze over and there's just nobody there. She's off in a little world of her own. Actually, I do the same thing, don't I?
Yeah, like that time with the washing machine, dude.
Oh God. What's that noise? 10 minutes later. Dude, what? What's that noise? Oh God!
It wasn't 10 minutes. It was like a minute.
Exaggeration. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Story tells. Tell the story.
Anyway, you're welcome.
Do you even know what I was saying thank you for?
Yeah, fill me in after the video. We've got to wrap this up because I've got company coming over.
God damn it. Right, yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
We were talking about the long-term effects, and I was talking about charisma and how it has helped. It has sort of created a lot of self-doubt, and that tends to be why we trust each other the way we do, because of various things like that. You know, we can really trust each other because nobody lies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say?
Except for when we don't listen.
That's true. But that's not lying. That's just not listening.
Yeah, indeed. No, that's pretty true. That's pretty much true.
Yeah.
So we've basically, as I was thinking before, it's kind of like also what kind of makes it a little bit more stronger is the fact that we built trust in a time where trust was completely and utterly shattered. It just...
Yeah, it really was.
You know, and...
For many years, you know, it kind of repeated that cycle. There was a little cycle going on with both of us. You know, one would go through it and then the next would go through it. Sometimes it would be together, and trust was just shattering over and over again. And yet the one constant that we had really was this. Yeah,
and I think we were pretty much the only stable, healthy kind of...
Even though we're codependent.
Even though we're... Yeah, but I think we're codependent in a healthy way. So
Yeah, because we try and lift each other up.
Yeah, but in a way, you know, there are times where it can get a little bit unhealthy, where we become a little too reliant, but because of physical distance, we've managed to keep that at bay a little bit. I mean,
my mental breakdown, I really didn't want you to leave, but I know you had to. And I could see it in your face. You did have to leave me to cope on my own, and you did the right thing there. But the unhealthy thing was me going, don't leave.
Yeah, but by the time I had left, you were already on the road, just the path, the beginning of the path to recovery. So I felt like a dick, but I had to go. It was then or never. It's one of those things.
You know, had you stayed, I wouldn't have recovered properly.
No.
You know, I would have got very clingy, and that would have put a strain on our friendship, and you did the right thing. So while we are codependent, we know.
And we're aware of it.
We're aware of it. But I think there's a certain level of codependency in a lot of friendships and relationships anyway. Because...
Well, to a degree, yeah. I think you'd be lying if you said there was... Every relationship is completely healthy. You know, we all have our... bad habits and shit.
But what we were talking about with the emotional manipulators, they are very codependent, and they make you very codependent. You're almost trained to be.
And they are crazy making.
Very crazy making. So in a way...
And we're sanity seeking, so that's how we're healthy.
Yeah. So. In a way, with our codependency, it's because we've had to become dependent on other people because they trained us to be. And yet somehow that's gone that way. So we're dependent on each other because other people made us be.
Exactly. So it kind of had the opposite effect,
sometimes.
Which I always found really interesting, because it's, as I said before, it's like we have naturally gravitated towards what we need to be doing in order to come out a little more functional. I mean, we're damaged. I'm not going to say we're perfect. We are definitely damaged, but
Definitely.
we've survived. We haven't succumbed to it.
Oh, there have been times. You know that.
Oh, we took dips. But we are still here, so we have not succumbed.
And we never let the other one stay in that pit. It's a case of, well, I can be your strength. At the time that you need it the most, I can be your strength, and I will lift you up. I will take care of you.
And the more people you have like that in your life, the better. Really, the better.
If you can hear any bells, it's the puppy playing with something.
or we're just hitting the nails on the head. So
Ding, ding.
It's the Epiphany bell.
So much. And we've covered all of the. My bad. We've covered all of the tactics that we used, and we've spoken about a few bits and pieces of our personal experiences, and there's a lot more to come with that. But I think for now, we've possibly covered everything we wanted to.
Yeah, and sorry to seem like we're rushing this, but I'm getting some.
To wrap it up. We've had a few technical difficulties along the way again.
Yeah, and apparently I have some guests coming in like 10 minutes or so it's going to get very noisy down here, and we're going to be eating Chinese.
Yay! Yay!
Yummy. So on that note, we will dive a little deeper on some of these subjects.
We always watch things back and get inspired by things that we've brought up before, so we'll delve a little deeper into some of those things.
Indeed. And of course, if we've touched on any subjects that rings true to you and you just want to weigh in, please feel free to just leave a comment, and we'd love to engage with you. And
we'll try and answer questions or talk about topics maybe you want to discuss.
Indeed, because maybe you've got something that we haven't even thought of yet. So who knows?
That would be great.
But on that note, peeps, thank you very much for watching. As always, it's much appreciated. Much love, mucho hugs, and lots of empathy. And we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.